Hello everyone, this is PermCuber, and in this video I'm going to show you how to solve your MoYu Wheel of Time. Now, the MoYu Wheel of Time is not actually really all that difficult to figure out, because basically there's only two parts to it. There's only two main steps that you have to worry about. And basically, if you know already how to solve a 3x3 and a 5x5, this should be a cinch. And in order to know how to do that exactly, we need to go over the pieces. So the pieces on this cube are basically the same as if you combined a 3x3 with a 5x5. This is basically just a 5x5 without 3 edges per side like this. So basically we have the corner pieces. There's 4 of them on each face. Just like on a 3x3, we have 4 edges as well. However, the difference is the centers. Now there is, of course, that one center, which in this case is yellow, as you can see here. That centerpiece is yellow, so this whole side, when solved, will be yellow. That's pretty obvious. Now, these other pieces are like on a 5x5, where you have to solve all of the centers on that side to determine the color of that face. So the first step is to solve it like a 3x3. What you're going to do is you're just going to get all the edges and corners in the correct places on this cube, and you would do that like you would on a normal 3x3. So the first stage is to solve it like a 3x3, and if you're trying to solve this, I'm pretty confident that you know how to solve a 3x3 already, so I won't go into much depth with that. But the last part is to solve it like a 5x5. And once you have this cube solved like a 3x3, it's going to look to the equivalent of something like this, where you have all of the 3x3 stage done, all the corners and edges in their correct places, and all you have left is the center pieces. The thing that's different about this cube is that these things, the centers, turn, they rotate by themselves. So I can turn this and then rotate the center and move it back, just like that. And that'll work for any of the faces. All of these sides turn, and this cube does not shapeshift in case you've tried to make it do that. Something else to note that's very important when scrambling this cube, if you want to have a full solve, and what I mean by that is having to solve the centers after you solve this cube in 3x3 stage, you're going to have to turn the centers while scrambling it. Because if you do not turn the centers when scrambling this cube, and you try to solve it like a 3x3, then you'll have a center skip, meaning that all the centers will be solved automatically. So make sure that when you're scrambling this that you turn the centers as well at odd times. So the last thing to go over here is notation. And the notation on a MoYu Wheel of Time is the exact same as it would be on a 3x3 and, of course, on a 5x5. Now, the only difference is, of course, these centers, the rotating centers, and in this video, I'll just call this U and U prime, and so forth, and R prime, just that kind of thing. Just so we know, to get that out of the way, just so you guys know what I'm talking about when I use that notation. So let's go ahead and get started with solving our MoYu Wheel of Time. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start off with our white cross. Now, of course, you can do this with any face at all. It really doesn't matter. But since I solve on white on 3x3, then I'm going to go ahead and start off with the white cross. So you have to match, as you can see here, it's the same thing as on a 3x3. You have to match each color of the edge piece with its corresponding center. And as we can see here, this white and red edge is already in the correct place because the white center, which is the very middle piece on the wheel, is with this white edge, and the red edge is with the very red center on the middle of this wheel. So we know this edge is in the correct position. So now if we rotate our cube, we have the white and green centerpiece. We'll go ahead and solve that next. And so as you can see, it's flipped. So what we're going to do is you just unflip it. So move it down, move it onto the bottom layer, move it out of the way, bring this edge back because it happens to be solved, and then as you can see now it's on the bottom like we want it to be, so all you have to do is do an F2. And when you're solving in this cube in 3x3 stage, you don't have to worry about the centers at all, so don't try to solve the centers while you're solving this cube in 3x3 stage. So last we have our white and blue edge piece, and this is a really easy cross actually. So you just have to move this up because you can see the blue is corresponding with the blue centerpiece, and if we just move it up once, then we will have the white corresponding with the white centerpiece, which is what we want. So we have our white cross completed, and this is what it looks like on a 3x3, and this is the equivalent to that of a 3x3. So as you can see that it looks basically the same. So the next step here, you can either do F2L or you can do beginner's method. I generally do beginner's method on the MoYu Wheel of Time because I'm not trying to speed solve it, and it doesn't need to be really difficult. So I usually just do beginner's method, so I just insert the corners in their correct place. Kind of treat it like a 2x2 at this point. Of course, you have to keep the edges solved in the cross, but... Alright, so then we have this edge, or this corner piece right here goes there. Just move that in. I'm going from the perspective on this tutorial that you already know the basics on how to solve a 3x3 and also how to solve a 5x5, at least to some extent. You don't have to know how to solve an entire 5x5, you just have to know the basic steps of it. So we have this corner piece going in here, and then we have this corner piece that goes right here. When you're solving your corners and your F2L edge pieces in the middle layer, depending on what you decide to do with that second layer, it's important to make sure that you don't move this center layer in here, because if you move that, as you can see, now your cross is messed up because you have the white and orange edge piece. Sure, the white is in the right place, but the orange is now connected to the green center, which we don't want. So you have to be very careful when you're solving this to make sure you don't move any of those intersides there. Now we have our F2L, and I usually just do simple inserts. So we have this red and green edge piece, and if I put my finger on that, we've got the red and green corner piece. So what I do is I just move it over like that, and then bring out this corner piece. Just kind of like a very simple F2L insert. Just take out the corner piece. This just helps me keep track of all the pieces. You don't have to do this. You can do whatever you want when you're solving this in 3x3 stage. So then we can just go ahead and insert it like that. So next we've got the green and orange edge piece, and that goes right here. So once again, we have another really easy insert. Just bring out this corner piece like that, and then keep our white face solved. And then we can go ahead and do another insert. So just like that. As you can see now, the edge piece is with the corner piece. This is just very basic F2L. If you don't know how to solve a 3x3 using F2L, I will leave a link in the description to a tutorial that I made on how to solve it using F2L. So now we have the blue and orange edge piece, and that goes right here. So once again, we have our white, orange, and blue corner piece right there. So we're going to move this over once, just like that. And then we're going to bring our corner piece up, move it out of the way, and just bring this back. So then we're just going to do a simple F2L insert. And then lastly, we've got this edge piece here, the blue and red edge piece, and that goes right here. So for this case, I'm just going to go ahead and do a U2. Bring up the corner piece, take it out, and then we're going to go ahead and insert it into the correct position for the last F2L pair. Just like that, we have F2L completed on our MoYu Wheel of Time. So lastly, we have the last layer for a 3x3 stage, and so we're going to go ahead and start off with our cross, and it looks like we have a bar because we have the edge, center, and edge here. These edges and these two sides are not solved. Now again, on the MoYu Wheel of Time, for this stage, you can use full OLL, full PLL, F2L. You can use an advanced method. I really do not care what you do, but just for keeping track of the pieces, for me, it's so much easier to just use the beginner's method because it's slower and you're not trying to do so much at once. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the bar algorithm. So F, R, U, R prime, U prime, and then F prime. So we've got our cross solved, and it looks like we've got a very simple two-look OLL case. I'm just going to go ahead and do this algorithm. Double R, U, R prime, U prime, double R prime, F, R, F prime. Now again, when you're doing these algorithms, you have to make sure that you don't move this middle layer unless you're supposed to in the algorithm. And in that algorithm, I was supposed to. So the last case we have here is PLL, and that looks like we have got an E-perm. So we're going to have to do the E-perm algorithm. Now you could just do like a T-perm or something and then get a U-perm, but I'm going to go ahead and just do this algorithm. So we're going to go ahead and hold it like this and do R, U prime, R prime, D, R, U, R prime, D prime, R, U, R prime, D, R, U prime, R prime, D prime. And as you can see, now we have our entire 3x3 stage solved. And that's the equivalent of this on a 5x5. So now all we have to do is just solve our centers on the MoYu Wheel of Time. And that's the only tricky part, really, to solving this cube. So let's just go ahead and jump right into that. So for solving the centers, or the wheels, I guess, on the MoYu Wheel of Time, you don't have to worry about learning any new algorithms or stuff like that. It's just the same thing as solving the centers on a 5x5. And if you don't know how to solve a 5x5, I will leave a link in the description to where you can check out a tutorial. We're going to start off with the white center. Again, you can start off with any color you wish. So I'm going to go ahead and start by creating 2x1 bars, and it looks like we already have one here. The center and edge center piece, I guess. In this tutorial, after we're done with 3x3 stage, I'm just going to go ahead and call all of the edges and corners in the centers. I'm just going to go ahead and call them edges and corners because we're already done with all of the edges and corners on 3x3 stage. So for all of the centers, I call this an edge, even though it's technically an edge center. In this tutorial, I'll call it an edge. And same with this piece, I'll just call it a corner. So I've already got a 2x1 bar of an edge and center here. And so now we've got another one here of an edge and corner. So in order to get this up in the correct position, you just have to move it over like this. Now move the wheel only when you're doing this. You don't want to mess up your 3x3 stage at all. And so then to get this up here, you go ahead and move it up to where you want it. And instead of moving the whole side out of the way, all you want to do is move the wheel, just like that. And then you want to keep your 3x3 stage solved, so you just move that back. And so then we've got our last 3x1 bar here. And then we've got another 2x1 bar here. So looks like we've got this corner and this edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and move this edge down into a good position to where we can move the corner down. And so we're going to go ahead and move this corner down now. And again, move only the wheel out of the way. Don't move the entire face, just the wheel. And then solve your 3x3 stage. And then you can move this corner edge pair up. Just make sure that you have your wheel centers in the correct position. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up now. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and rotate that out of the way. And solve our 3x3 stage just like that. So now we've got our last 3x1 bar here. We've got this corner and this edge. So we'll go ahead and just solve that right now. Move the corner up to match. Move just the wheel out of the way and bring back that side. And so then we've got this 2x1 bar here. And so now we're going to go ahead and move our wheel into position where we can move down this centerpiece. Just like that. And move it out of the way. And then solve our 3x3 stage. So now we've got our white center basically solved. All we have to do now is just move this up here. And we cannot just move it up like that because it'll mess up our 3x3 stage, and there's nowhere to move it back without messing up the white side again. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a U2 with the wheel, and now we're going to go ahead and move this piece up, this 3x1 bar up, and then we're going to do a U2 on the wheel again. And then we're going to go ahead and move that back. Just like that. So now we have our entire white face completed. And so now you can do, again, any other face. I'm going to go ahead and do yellow next. And we do not have a yellow edge piece up here with the center, so we're going to have to put one up there. And this one looks like it's a pretty good option, so we're going to go ahead and move it over like that. So we can move it up. And again, move only the wheel back. And then solve the 3x3 again. So now we've got This corner and edge pair here, you just go ahead and move that up to match with this one. And again, move just the wheel out of the way and solve your 3x3 stage. So now we've got this edge and this corner right here. So go ahead and move this edge down to match with the corner piece. Move the corner down to match with the edge, just like that. And then move it into position. And then solve our 3x3 stage. And by doing that, we'll also put in that edge piece. So now we've got our last 3x1 bar here. It looks like we've already got all these pieces on the same face. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move one of these two pieces out of the way. I guess we'll move the bottom one out. And then we'll just move it out of the way. And then solve our 3x3 stage. So now we can go ahead and pair these up. So I'll go ahead and move that down. And then move this over. And then move it out of the way. And move it back to keep our 3x3 stage solved. And then we've got our 3x1 bar that needs to go right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and once again move it over so that it's in line with another 3x1 bar that's already on top. Move it up, do a U2 on the wheel, and then move this back. So now we have our white and yellow faces completely solved. So now we're going to go ahead and do the blue center next. You can do any centers you wish to, but in this tutorial I'll just go ahead and do it in this order. So we've got the blue corner and edge pair already here. And we've already got a blue edge piece matched with the center. So we're going to go ahead and move this down, move it up to match with the other pair that we already have here, move it out of the way, and then solve our 3x3 stage again. And so now it looks like we've got another really nice case here with this corner piece and this edge piece. So we'll move this edge piece into position just like that. And then move our corner down. Move it over. And then solve our 3x3 stage again. So now we've got this 2x1 bar where it needs to be. We'll move this out of the way. Move the 2x1 bar up. Move the wheel out of the way. Just the wheel, and then solve our 3x3 stage again. So lastly, all we have to do now is solve this 3x1 bar, which can be done relatively easily. We can just go ahead and move up this corner and this corner, move the wheel out of the way, and then solve 3x3 stage just like that. And so now we've got the bars in the correct position. We can just go ahead and move this up, do a U2 on the wheel, and then bring this back. So now we have our entire blue face solved. We've got 3 faces solved on our MoYu Wheel of Time. 3 left. So now we're going to go ahead and do our red face. And we've got a nice 2x1 bar here, and a 2x1 bar already up. So we're going to go ahead and move that center edge pair over, bring this up, so it forms this 2x2 pair here, move it out of the way, and then solve our 3x3 stage. And then we've got another really easy case here. We already have this bar completely solved down here. So we can go ahead and move our center wheel over once. Move this bar up like that. Move everything out of the way. And then solve our 3x3 stage. And so lastly, we've got these two sets right here. We can go ahead and pair them up. Move the bar out of the way and solve our 3x3 stage at the same time. And now all we have to do is just move it up. So if you've got it up where it needs to be, do a U2 on the wheel, and then solve that face. So now we have the last 2 centers on our MoYu Wheel of Time. What we have to do is basically the exact same thing as the last 2 centers on the 5x5. And so if you know how to solve a 5x5, this should not be too hard. But if you don't, again, I have a link in the description to learn how to solve a 5x5 if you do not know. So we have our first bar. We solve this the exact same way as we would other centers. So we have our first bar here. And go ahead and move this over. And then you go ahead and move this 2x1 bar up. Move it out of the way. And then solve our 3x3 stage. And it looks like we've got this edge piece here and this corner piece way up here. So go ahead and pair those up by moving this edge over, bringing the corner piece down, moving them out of the way, and then solving our 3x3 stage. So now we've got a really easy case for this 3x1 bar. We can go ahead and move over this, just like that, and then bring our corner piece down. So we can move it over, and then solve our 3x3 stage. And as you can see, that actually solved our MoYu Wheel of Time. Alright, so I guess that about wraps it up for this tutorial on how to solve the MoYu Wheel of Time. Let me know down in the comments if you think I could do this tutorial better, or what tutorials you want me to do in the future, or other types of videos in general. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.